Hello everyone, Dr. 𝒔𝒊𝒙-𝒚𝒆𝒂𝒓. I'm here to talk to you about a very important subject, and that we've seen a few cases here in our office, and that is ADHD and ADD. We've seen the couple cases that I want to talk to you about is actually they've had those patients are 3 years old and 6 years old. They were actually, when they came in the office, they were prescribed medication, medication for their ADHD at 3 years old and 6 years old. Can you believe that? That is, when it comes to ADHD, I'm here to educate you on that, is that it doesn't really, there's no sudden instant, there's no sudden incident that would kind of trigger ADHD. It's a sequence of stressors and diseases that happen throughout life, but that's why we're here to educate you and talk to you. So when you come into our office, me and one of the other doctors here, we're going to sit down with you, and we are going to retrace back everything that has happened through the baby's life, through even if they're teenagers. We're going to trace back to everything that's happened throughout their life, because those stressors, those sequences doesn't happen right away. It happens back even before birth, right? How was pregnancy? Was mama stressed? Was there any challenges throughout the pregnancy? And then the next step would be, how was delivery? Okay, was there any medical interventions? Was there a vacuum? Was there induction? Was it a C-section? Was there a vacuum, forceps? How was the delivery? How was delivery? Because each one of them plays a factor on how it affects the nervous system. Because when the babies come out, especially with these two cases, actually the 3 and 6 year olds that were both C-section. So what happens here when the C-section, one of them was actually a cord wrapped. So if it was an emergency C-section, they had to do it right away, and because the cord was wrapped around the baby's neck in the womb. So they had to use an emergency C-section. So with the emergency section, they cut up in barely enough suture in there to get the baby out. When the baby comes out, the baby does not. It doesn't really just slide out. They will will use any kind of intervention to hook on the baby's skull right there, and they're going to physically pull and twist to get that baby out. Okay, and that's what happened with the 6 year old. Is that's it really shifted that C1, and it shifted it so hard in there. The baby going up, the baby had torticollis. Okay, the baby was stuck in one position there their whole life. You know what the pediatrician said? He'll grow out of it. But kids do not grow out of these challenges. Okay, they don't grow out of being colicky. They don't grow out of constipation. They grow into other and they grow into more complicated things later on in life. They go into ADD, ADHD, even severe cases like autism. Okay, yes, that can happen. Okay, so that's why the stressors, the sequences that happens in life, all starts how pregnancy was, how was delivery. Okay, because if that subluxation, if that misalignment in that spine is not addressed, then that baby is going to grow into more of a stressed, colicky baby. Now, this research is showing that 3 out of 4 patients with autism actually have severe and chronic constipation, right? And so with colicky, with babies, what the pediatricians say, hey, it's just a phase. It happens. They grow out of it, but they don't. Again, they do not grow out of being colicky. That's why they need to be in here and get adjusted to get them going, and get them feeling comfortable. Okay, and then if that subluxation not being addressed at that age, then they grow into stressed, constantly sick, challenging toddler. Right, these toddlers are getting constantly sick, sickness after sickness after sickness, ear infection after ear infection after ear infection. Tube here, a tube here, a tube. They get constant tubes, and it still doesn't get to the root cause of the problem. Okay, which is just a very stressed, the overstimulated nervous system. And if that constantly sick child will grow into a stressed, hyperactive, sensory seeking, stuck toddler. Okay, and that's what they would. They're just seeking, looking for you know, things to do, things to keep them company, because their nervous system is so overstimulated that the only thing that they can control is what there's in front of them, or what they can control with their hands. Sometimes those kids, and you know, some cases they have what is called SPD, or sensory processing disorder. With these cases, those kids don't pay attention to, not pay attention, but they don't, their nervous system is so stuck into what's in front of them. They're not paying, they're not listening to their parents when they call their name. You know, if I had, you know, for instance, for an example here, this child had with an SPD, or just sensory seeking challenge, you know, trying to get their attention, they're not going to be listening. They physically can't. They really physically can't, because they're so overstimulated. And I'll talk to you what overstimulation is here in a second. But they're so overstimulated, the only thing that control in their life is what's in front of them, right? Like you and me, when we're stressed, what we do, when we're in a fight or flight situation, what do? We either fight or we flight, right? But for a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, even, you know, a 5-year-old, what happens when their nervous system is so stuck into that sympathetic mode and fight or flight? They physically cannot fight. They physically cannot do this. So they will be stuck into that into whatever is in front of them, just because that's the only way they can control it. And if that subluxation and the stressed and challenged kid is not, you know, that issue is not addressed, then those kids will grow into stressed out, burnt out adults with always on ADD and ADHD. Now I'm here to explain to you, I keep saying stuck, I keep saying stressed out, burned out, okay? So when we look at our spine and our nervous system here, you know that our brain, it controls everything in our body. Right, and it sends all these millions and millions of signals up and down the spine, across all these nerves into all of the organs. Now, when it comes to our autonomic nervous system, okay, I like to call automatic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is when our heart beats, we can't control it. When our gut movement, we can't control. There's certain things inside our body that we cannot control, physically cannot control. They're controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Now, the autonomic nervous system is divided into 2 sets of nerves, put them that way. There are 2 sets of nerves. One of them is called the parasympathetic nerves. Okay, that is your rest, digest, relax nerves. And the other set is your fight or flight, your sympathetic nerves. Now, for the 6-year-old, for the patient, the 6-year-old that was born with C-section, when they came out, they pulled him and they twisted him out, and they pulled him out. Now the parasympathetic nerves, or rest and digest nerves, come out from right up here. Okay, right up here, from the nerve right here, right around the occiput and C1, and they also come out from our sacrum, right at the tailbone here. They both come out from these 2 areas, right up and right here down. Okay, these nerves control our rest, digest, relaxation. You know, I'm in such a good mood. I am just kind of playing around, and that's what I want to be in 24/7, is that rest, digest, and relax. The other set of nerves that we have is called the sympathetic nerves, okay? Our fight or flight, and these are located from here and to here. These are they're located in our thoracic spine. They're located in here. These nerves all come out of here. These are the sympathetic nerves, or fight or flight. Now, how our autonomic nervous system works is that we want our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, to be in constant rest and digest. We want that to be activated all the time. Now, when it comes, and the sympathetic nervous system, or our fight or flight, only activates when we need it. Okay? If I'm in a stressful situation, I want that to activate right away and come back and relax. And I want my parasympathetic, my rest and digest, to be activated 100% of the time. Now, When we have a kid that is stuck, subluxated into that, into what we call the sympathetic dominance, right? Their nervous system is stuck into that, subluxated into that sympathetic dominance that physically cannot do this. What's happening here is that their nervous system is the complete opposite. Their sympathetic nervous system is going 500 miles per hour, always stuck on that. Think of it like a gas pedal. Okay, if you're stuck in a gas pedal, what's happening? You get that rush, right? You get that rush. That's what's happening at the sympathetic nervous system. Is it's stuck in the gas pedal. Always go. We gotta let go of the gas pedal and we gotta let our brake pedal, our rest, digest, and relax take over. Okay, but with the kids that are stuck in the sympathetic dominance, they physically cannot do that because that subluxation, that the nervous system is so stressed. Now those kids is what you call raging bulls. Okay, those raging bulls are always on the move. They're always on the move. They're always active. They always have to be doing something. They're seeking attention. They're seeking touch, love, hugs. Sometimes they're even walking on their toes. Just walking on their toes. That is an overstressed raging bull stuck in that sympathetic dominance. Okay, and that's the raging bull. The other one we have is what we call it drunken bull. Okay, what's a drunken bull is that now you see those kids that are always kind of relax, always kind of looking like this, or just not here, not paying attention. They struggle with homework. They struggle with school. Information is all there. They know everything. They know the information. They know it's just acting on it. So the information is there. Acting on it is there's a misconnection between the brain and how to act on it, and that is where the subluxation is at. Okay. And then you have kids who are actually, these are severe cases, who are both of them, who are raging bull and drunken bull at the same time. And those are one of the severe cases that we see in our office here. And those kids are or have a severe SPD, severe sensory processing disorder, and these kids have severe autism. Okay, so you're probably asking, well, how do I know? How can I help? And that's what we do here in our office. When you come into our office, we are going to sit down with you, mom and dad. We are going to listen to you first. You guys gone through everything. You guys tried everything. You tried OT, PT. You guys tried it all, and you're looking for that. You're looking for what can I do to help my my kid. You're a pediatrician telling you, hey, they grow out of it, but deep inside you that there is something more. There's something deeper that's been happening, and there is an answer out there. And I'm telling you here, guys, we see those cases every day, and we take care of them every day here. So all I'm asking is that when if you know someone who's going through their kids going through some of these symptoms that I have just talked about, or if your kid going through that, please come on in. Give us a call at our office. Me or one of the doctors here, we will sit down with you. We'll spend a lot of time going through history, going through everything. We will trace back. To where it all started, to get to the root cause of what's going on. And I'm telling you, there's hope. There are answers. Okay, just got to make your step.